All right, we'll go ahead and get started then. Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Dan Earhart. I'll be hosting today's webinar, which is going to be about gearing up for the holiday rush. And a little bit about me, I'm a solution specialist here at CXT Software. I've been with the company now for about 4.5 years. But before working here at CXT Software, I was working at a courier company. I started as a dispatcher and worked my way up to an operations manager over the course of a couple of years. So definitely have some experience in the courier space, and especially this time of year, which is going to be, of course, that wonderful holiday rush. Before we dive into the webinar, though, a few things to go over about expectations. During the course of this webinar, all audience members will be muted, but if you do have a question, feel free to ask that in the question box. There's a little speech bubble with a question mark inside as an icon in the bottom row. But there will be a full open forum for Q&A at the very end of the webinar. Also, be sure to check your email for some more information as well. So before we start talking about the holiday rush, just some background information on CXT Software and why we could talk about this, what experience we have in this industry. We of course have been in the industry for 25 years. We have over 20,000 drivers actively using our system each and every month. Our software manages about 400,000 parcels daily in our operations platform. And we also have hundreds of integrations with the different shipping partners and different platforms that can truly connect businesses with the entire supply chain. We also service, the logistics, medical, pharmaceutical industries. One of the great things with our company is when it was first founded, 25 years ago, there were two people that were working for a courier company, and they needed a platform to be able to handle, dispatching and logistics, and they didn't find anything that really fit the bill. So they actually developed the software from the ground up with that in mind. On top of that, besides myself, there's also plenty of people here in the company that we're in the industry. I know one of our account managers was he ran his own courier company. There are a few other people that started working in a courier company before moving here. So, we were developed and have been staffed by industry experts. So we have the experience and the knowledge in the logistics space. Let's go ahead and move to the next part. And then, of course, we have continuous innovations informed by our customer feedback. So with the software, we've obviously speak to industry professionals all the time, so we always hear that wonderful feedback. But that's enough about us. Let's go ahead and go into the topic at hand here, which is, of course, that holiday season. So as we all know, it's that special time of year. Holidays are coming up, which for personally, we have a wonderful time with our families to look forward to. But professionally, this is the crazy time. This is the holiday rush that that kind of kickstarts, everything into the new year. And what does this mean for us? That, of course, is going to mean an increase in daily shipments. This might come through as routed overflow. So you might have routes that normally do great, wonderful business through most of the year, but now you're looking at overflow because of just the increase in demand and shipments that you're getting from your customers. You might be dealing with things like conflicting time windows, so trying to get things to different parts of your service area all around the same time. And then with us being in 2025 now, there's just an increased visibility requirements from our customers. They not only want to see where their package is, they want to see where that driver is as they're going through and making those deliveries. This time of year, if you have a sizable workforce, there's going to be driver availability issues. People might want to take time off to spend that time with their family, or they might be traveling, towards the end of the year to be able to spend that time with their family. So that, of course, comes with a need for seasonal help. Not only are you trying to fill up your ability to handle all these increased shipments, but also deal with the different kinds of availability issues your normal workforce has because they're looking to take off this time of year. And then, since we have more people on the road in general, just to deal with all of this increase in shipments, you also have people traveling. So you're going to have increased traffic. And then, of course, everything is going to be sent last minute. You have rushes, hot shots, now. Everybody wants stuff sent and delivered all as soon as possible. So, with this holiday season, it just comes up to be a perfect storm of increased traffic, workflow, stressors, with your business and in the industry in general. So how do you deal with that? What kind of tools can you look to take advantage of? What kind of things, should you be looking with, especially with your TMS, that can help you relieve those stressors and handle the increase in volume and the increased demand that you have. So we're going to be taking a look at different ways different tools and different things you can look to try and help relieve all of these stressors that are coming around. The first thing we're going to take a look at or discuss is going to be your drivers and how to make their lives easier. One of the big things is going to be having a driver app that is really easy to use. And I don't mean easy to use in just, it doesn't take that much to figure it out, but you want things to be as simple as possible. You want your drivers to spend most of their time driving on the road between their deliveries so they can go to their delivery, do what they need to do, get back in the truck or the car and go on to their next stop so they can handle more packages, more items on a day-to-day basis. So a driver app that is simple as possible with clear instructions and requirements. You don't want you to have your driver trying to find out, scroll through and figure out, hey, where's the customer contact information? Where am I supposed to deliver this item? I don't see anything here. The longer it takes for them to clear through the application, the less time they're going to be able to devote to driving and actually getting to these destinations where they have all of these orders to fulfill. So with those clear instructions and requirements, you want to be able to handle your customers' unique workflows. We all know that not every customer operates the same way, and we'd love it if it's just, you go to the front desk and drop it off, but sometimes you might have to navigate a complex a building that has multiple offices, and where's the right suite? Or if you're in a hospital complex and you need to figure out, like, how do you get to where this needs to go? It can be a nightmare. So having a place to put those instructions is going to be important. Having a required contact info is going to be huge as well, especially if you have customers placing their orders online. You want to make sure that they give you the information to make everyone's life easier, so your driver's not figuring out where does this go to. They can have that name, that contact, to be able to quickly get them on the phone to make sure that they can hand off the delivery to the right person. And then, of course, you want to have that signature capture, visual proof of delivery, and more importantly, camera requirements. Some applications might allow you to upload a photo from your gallery, and we all know drivers can sometimes do what they like to find ways to cut corners to save themselves time, and maybe taking a picture of the package on the front seat of their car and adding it to the delivery at the time of delivery would just save them a couple steps. But having the camera requirements makes them take a picture from the camera app on their phone when they're doing the delivery. So you can make sure you have a good picture, you have that proof of delivery that not only covers the driver, it covers yourself, and it also ends up covering the customer as well, because they'll be happy knowing, hey, this is where my item is. With those the driver app as well, another important thing to utilize if you have it are configurable driver permissions, especially if you're going to be using seasonal help. Seasonal help is great. You get them on the road, you get them helping out the additional deliveries and the overflow, but you might want to keep them on a tighter leash. You might not have time to go through full driver onboarding before you need them to start taking deliveries. So being able to limit what they're able to see, what they're able to interact with, what they're able to add is going to be important. So if the platform that you're using has configurable driver permissions, take advantage of those. Limit the number of stops that they can see so they don't go out of order. A lot of drivers think that they know better than your dispatchers when they see the information at hand without knowing the bigger picture that's happening in the background. So yeah, maybe right now it makes sense for them to kind of skip ahead, but 5 hours down the road, that's going to totally throw off their manifest. So if there is a way to limit what they can do or what they can interact with, take advantage of that. You'd be surprised at how quickly you can turn up someone that is going off chart, going off doing their own thing, how you can change that into them being a really good performing driver just by limiting what they can do within their application. Location services is another huge one. Having a forced GPS requirement so they can't turn off their location services whenever they want. Having that visibility, once again, is huge, not only for your dispatch team, for your customers as well, if you give them the access to see where their drivers are at any time. So you want to be able to make sure that you can make that GPS a requirement just to keep everybody informed. I still remember the days in dispatch where I had drivers that would turn that off, and I'd have to call them to figure out where they were to know whether, hey, where are you in your route right now, so I can give you, this extra work. The less time spent on the phone is huge in this time where every day you walk in and there might be a potential fire just with the higher demand that we have this time of year. Geofencing is another great, awesome feature, and that's kind of an industry term. Just in the event that your platform calls it something else, we call it geofencing. That seems to be a norm, and what that is it's a way to make sure that a driver is within a certain radius of an address in order to make a delivery. I don't know about where you guys are located, but I know just in the town that I live in, there's a main street, there's a main road, and there's a main boulevard, believe it or not. And it's really easy for a driver who's trying to go and do their deliveries as fast as possible to misread that on their phone and go to the wrong location and drop off the item at a completely different spot. Geofencing fixes that problem, because when the driver goes to make that drop off, when they go to mark itself delivered, it'll check to see, are you within the actual latitude, longitude coordinates of where you're supposed to be? So if he's at Main Street and he's supposed to be at Main Road, it would tell him, hey, you're not at the right location, buddy. And sure, this might, give him extra time to have to go and make the right delivery, but then you can make sure that you're delivering things at the right location. And, it's important for packages. If you're doing pharmaceutical deliveries, that could be life-saving if someone's waiting for medication, and you want to make sure it goes to the right person. Medication is super expensive as well, and the last thing you want to do is have to figure out how to replace a $25,000 prescription, especially this time of year, just because there's an increased rush. Moving over to how you can improve the experience for your customer is just customer visibility across the board. If you have a customer portal with your platform, use it. It saves so much time with having them being able to answer their own questions without having to call in and talk to your dispatch team, giving them the ability to not only place orders, but track them every step of the way. It's also a great place where you can give mass messaging to stay in communication with your customer, such as like a holiday schedule banner. If your hours are different during this time of year, or maybe you have an upcharge because you're doing like off hours in the holiday, you can give that information to the customer. You can even personalize it with season's greetings or happy holidays and give them that warm, fuzzy touch that sometimes gives people that extra good feeling with doing business with you. So if there's any kind of holiday banner or mass banner in general with your customer portal, use it. It's definitely there to help you stay in contact with your customer. It's also really helpful depending on where you are. If you have, if you're prone to inclement weather, like I am here in New England, you might want to say, hey, roads are icy today, or, there's a blizzard coming, or we know that there's an accident on this street and this street. So if you live here, expect a delay. This is just a way to be able to mass broadcast those messages to your customers to keep them in the know. And once again, keep them off the phones so they just know what's going on without having to call and talk to a live person. On top of that, real-time tracking is super important as well, getting your ETA notifications. And once again, not only that, but seeing where your driver is on a map. Uber, DoorDash, all these services has really spoiled our customers with wanting to be able to see where people are. Before they were happy with notifications to let them know it was out for delivery, but we've moved past that now as an industry, and people just want to know where things are at all points during the day. And I mean, I can't blame them, especially this time of year where you might be expecting a super important package, and you have to deal with picking up your kids from school, or where are you going to be in regards to where you are for work. So making sure you can coordinate exactly, to make sure someone's home when that package gets there, so there's someone to sign for it, is important. So giving them that visibility is going to be huge, and having that that capability to do so is also huge. This time of year as well is also a great time to start new relationships with customers. People, just because of the holiday rush, they might not they might not be able to use their primary service anymore just because of the increase in delay. They're not positive they'll be able to handle the deadline that they need to get this package shipped by. So they might look to other avenues. So you might have a chance to win new business by giving them a great experience this time. So making sure, if you're using a customer portal, have guest user access set up, give people the ability to sign in, place an order right off the bat. So that way, they can start that business relationship with you. Also be sure to cover yourself by requiring payment up front, and possible having it done with credit card. I can't tell you times where, before having guest user access, we take a job from a customer we haven't done business with, and then they burn us on the invoice. They wouldn't pay us. We did the service, and then we have to write off that amount just because we couldn't claim it from them, and it was not a large enough amount to really take them to like court or anything over it. So being able to do payment up front with guest user access is going to cover yourself, but also give you the opportunity to win new business. Even if it's for a personal item, all it takes is just one good contact with somebody saying like, hey, you know what? We use these guys. They got my package, this Christmas present that I needed to send to my mother-in-law. They took care of it right away. Maybe we should look at them to do some of our business, for their, whatever place they work at. Okay, so moving on over. The next thing is going to be when it comes to helping your dispatchers. One of the big thing is dispatch smarter, not harder. There's a ton of tools now in this AI age that we're working with that can really take and reduce the amount of time that your dispatchers were spending doing things. And one of the big ones that's been recent is dynamic routing planners. You might have heard it as a different thing. For us, we call it itinerary planning. But in essence, what this tool does is it allows you to take a bunch of shipments, whether they're routed or on demand. Say I have, maybe I have 600 shipments. I have 15 drivers. You set your parameters, like, I want to make sure that no driver has more than like 50 stops or something to that effect. These are the time windows that I want the driver to start and end their day at. And then the system will take those routes or those stops and split them up amongst the drivers. So you take those 600 stops, split it up amongst those 15 drivers in a couple of minutes. I know back in the day, I used to have to do that manually for a large medical customer where they give us pharmaceutical deliveries all over Massachusetts. And I'd have to plot them on a map, try to see where things were grouped together, and then figure out like, hey, what are the time window commitments we have on these? And it would take a couple hours to do every single day. This solves that problem in minutes. And when you're dealing with overflow or higher or increased demand, this tool can save so much time. And I mean, it's definitely helpful when you have that distribution, the distribution route stops, like I said, with like something like pharmaceutical deliveries. But even if you start your day with a bunch of on-demand orders and hey, I have 7 or 8 drivers, I have 20 drivers that are available for work, you shouldn't have to go one by one and divvy things up. This tool can help you with that as well. It's just a way to select your shipments, select how many drivers you have available, and have things, have the system figure out who should do what. And then most dynamic route planners have an optimization process in place. So not only does it split the work up for you, it'll also sequence it so everything is done in the right way while providing ETAs for your customers that are set to receive notifications. So this is a huge time saver. And if your platform has a dynamic route planner, this is the best time of year to use it. It can also help you throughout the rest of your year. But when you're in a rush situation and you have a lot of high demand, this is going to be great. Route optimization's been around for a little bit now, and it's only getting better as more and more AI gets developed. And this is also a huge time saver. Not only for individual routes or a group of on-demand orders, but this can help you reevaluate any recurring work that you have. If you've been working with a customer for 5 or 10 years doing the same kind of routes, chances are those stops have changed, whether new stops have been added old stops have been removed. And sure, bit by bit, you probably figured, hey, I got a new stop. Let me find the best stop for that route at this time. But when's the last time you took a look at all that work you're doing for a customer and said, and ask yourself, is there a better way to do this? Route optimization lets you do that. It lets you take a look at something as a whole and figure out if there's a more optimal way to rearrange things. Maybe it made sense 3 years ago to have this one stop, in between two other stops, but now with using route optimization, because your recurring work has changed, maybe there are better opportunities. Maybe now one of your drivers has like a 2-hour hole in their route where they can help alleviate your on-demand orders and your on-demand stress that you're using other drivers for. Always a great tool to use to try and look at what you're currently doing on top of any kind of higher demand situation that you have. And once again, I pointed out here as a separate bullet point, but route optimization shouldn't just be for routes. I know it's kind of like an industry term, route optimization, but you should also be able to use this for your on-demand orders as well. So if you have a bunch of pickups and deliveries that are A to Bs, maybe you do a bunch of pickups and then a couple deliveries and then a pickup before the delivery. This tool should help you figure out what's the best way for your driver to complete whatever workload that they have. Another huge one is going to be integration capabilities. With this, with our technologically advanced day and age, a lot of customers have their own systems that they're generating their own orders for, just for their own system before placing an order in yours. And one thing that's great with a lot of TMSs out there is that they're able to send and receive that information from your customer. Not only does it make it so it completely removes the factor of data entry, because as soon as they put something in their system, it talks to ours or talks to whatever your platform is and creates an order. So all that's automatic, but anytime there's an update, that information goes back and forth. So not only does it save time with the data entry process, it's also going to save a ton of time when your customer wants to see an update. They don't have to move to a completely different system, which is your TMS platform, to track an order. They can just go in their own system and look to see, did we get an update for this order? And if they have an integration in place, they would be able to see that. Not only is it helpful for increasing efficiencies with your partners and with your team, it's also going to make the customer that much more dependent on you. Putting an integration in place that just further solidifies their relationship with you. It's going to make it harder for them to look elsewhere, because they're not just changing, a courier that they're using or a business that they're working with. They're also changing that integration capability that's already in place, where things just move back and forward seamlessly. So once again, if you're not taking advantage of integrations, this is the perfect time to do so, because it once again further solidifies your relationship and makes everyone's lives easier with that seamless passing of information. Apologize for coughing here, but a few other things to keep in mind as well with seasonal variables. So one thing is going to be, holiday recurrence schedules. This is something that you might run into when you have recurring work, or if you have certain closures on certain holidays. I know most logistics places are open 24/7 to service our customers, but maybe our customers observe holidays. And, if they have a recurring route, maybe, in observance of New Year's, I don't want this route to run on New Year's, but I want it to run the next day. You shouldn't have to rely on somebody in your office remembering to manually move that over. You should have programmable recurrent schedules that you can input in your platform, so everything is done systematic and no one needs to make sure they put a sticky note on their monitor to remember to do that, because if they don't, we all know what the issue is going to be. The route doesn't happen. The customer gets upset. They ask why this didn't happen. And if it's relying on human error when it's something that a computer or system can do, take away that human factor. Try to set it up in your system so it happens automatically. The same thing applies to special holiday rating. If you have an upcharge for off hours or for doing stuff on holidays, program it in your system. If you have maybe a discount you give customers for working with you or giving you business at this time of year, put that discount in, make sure it's programmed. The last thing you want to do is have someone manually auditing your orders and trying to make manual adjustments for all those charges. The more that happens, the more likely something's going to get missed. And the last thing you want to do is not charge a customer appropriately. If it ends up being in the customer's favor, they're never going to call you to give you the extra money that you earned. And if it's not in the customer favor, you could bet that they're going to call you to complain about why things are charged extra when it should have been discounted. So once again, if it can be programmed in your system, by all means, set it up. We've talked about when we're looking at the customer tools and tips before. We talked about broadcast messaging, so I'm just going to reiterate it again. If you have broadcast messaging in your customer portal, use it. Give them the warm and fuzzy, happy holiday season's greetings. Thank you for being a partner, or thank you for being a customer. But also inclement weather. I mean, that's such a huge one. If you're going to be experiencing inclement weather, or if hey, there's an increased demand, so there might be a delay in some of the service, let them know. It's just, there's no such thing as being too transparent with your customer with things like that. Even though it might not be the best news, they appreciate you letting them know. It saves them a phone call. It makes it seem like you're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes on something that might be going in the background. Being that transparent with a broadcast message is going to be huge with your customer. Help keep that trust that you've built. And then, when you're using seasonal drivers, you have an increase in demand. You have all kinds of fires putting out day to day. Analytics and reporting is going to be huge. Not only will it help you tell, hey, are some of these seasonal drivers top performers that maybe I want to give them a full-time position for, but you should be easily able to break down at a glance how your business is doing. How are our what's our profit and loss going? How is that going on? How many rush orders did we get? How's our customer, how many orders are our customers putting in? Is there any kind of trend that they're using us less in this holiday season? Because that might give you some key information on ways you can improve and make the experience even better for your customer. So being able to take advantage of an analytics and reporting is also going to be important. It helps you when you're putting out fires day to day. It helps you keep a pulse on what else is going on that maybe you didn't have time to devote today to look at. So once again, analytics and reporting, if you can set up auto reports, if you have dashboards you can use that give you that information at a glance, you should definitely be taking advantage of it, because it's only going to help you in the long run. Now, I don't want to be, fear mongering here when I say, security and secure peace of mind, but, with everything else going on, it's really easy to overlook some of these important factors with having security and policy compliance in place, not only internally for your business, but with whatever technology and platforms you're using to support your business. I'll say that I know a huge customer of ours a few years ago had one of their dispatchers, or maybe it was an accountant, click on the wrong attachment on an email, the wrong link, and they ended up getting ransomware. So their entire in-house, everything they were using was just completely shut down. They couldn't operate like they normally would, and it just became a nightmare. They had to end up resorting to pen and paper in order to get things done. And that's how they became a customer of ours. They were using their own kind of proprietary system, and it just wasn't secure. They didn't have the structure in place to really be able to support that, and it ended up getting ransomwared out, and they had to resort to pen and paper. Now, I'll just say that I've fortunate enough in my time in the courier space that we never had to resort to pen and paper, but it would be a nightmare. I could just already tell you, especially when you have increased demand going on, like trying to give my drivers a paper manifest with bills of lading that they have to fill out, and hopefully they not only return that at the end of the day, but then hopefully everything is legible. That would just be a nightmare. So making sure that whatever platform, whatever other technology that you're using to support your business is secure. So with with the TMS space right now, a SOC 2 compliance is really important. That's something that's been coming up lately. So make sure if if the company you're using is not SOC 2 compliant, ask them about it. Ask them, do you have a plan in place to be SOC 2 compliant? Because that's only going to help you at the end of the day. Anyone in the medical space knows that HIPAA is a huge thing. So making sure that whatever platform you're using is HIPAA compliant, and they give you the tools to be HIPAA compliant with your drivers, making sure personal information with the patients that you're serving is not leaked out or anything like that is going to be huge. Those compliances also help you get business as well. If you're going to be bidding on contracts, they're going to ask you about the security of whatever tech stack that you're using, and being able to say, hey, the TMS we're using is SOC 2 compliant, they're HIPAA compliant. That's only going to make you look better. The other thing too is the 3 nines of uptime. So when you're using your system, you can be reliant on the fact that they're going to be up and working for you. 99.9% online, no kind of critical maintenance during business hours. Because once again, the last thing we want to do in a high stress and high demand environment is move over to paper. That's just going to upset the apple cart. It's going to make your drivers upset. Your customers are going to lose that visibility. It just makes things archaic when it doesn't need to be. So, it's always good to ask, if you're using a platform for years, ask them, hey, over the last couple of years, what has been your uptime? And make sure it's 99.9%. Anything less is just not going to cut it in this day and age. And then we all know that there are going to be times where you're going to have questions. You're going to need help. Maybe you're looking at utilizing a feature that you're not familiar with, that maybe it came out a couple of years ago, but now you're in a space to use it. Or maybe it's been a while and you haven't set something up that you need to set up now. Being able to access a support team that not only is available 24/7, but they're experts in the product that they're working with is going to be important. You don't want to be calling a support team, having them read off a script and not actually able to help you with your concern. Being able to reach out to someone that when you start talking to them, you have the confidence that they know what they're talking about and the security that they're going to help you solve your problem, or they're going to walk you through what needs to get done is huge. I mean, I could talk about all kinds of, anytime I have trouble with my phone, and I have to call a cell service, you get put on hold, you go through their automated system, you finally get a hold of somebody, and then they pass you off to a supervisor who ends up being in a completely other department and has no idea. Like, no one wants to spend time with that. And when you're dealing in a go industry like logistics, you shouldn't have to deal with that when it comes to reaching out to your support team for the platform that you're using. So having a 24/7 expert support team is also incredibly, incredibly important. So that kind of does it, wraps up what we were looking for, what were the different ways you can utilize your TMS or different tools and tricks to help you get through this holiday season. And I know we've talked about TMSs in general, but if you guys are interested in learning on about how our software can help you deal with this holiday rushes, what our TMS looks like, what that geofencing, dynamic routing looks like, you're welcome to schedule a demo with our sales executive, Paul. He's really great. He'll walk you through a live demo of our system. If you have questions for him, you're welcome to ask him. But I'll leave this up here if you guys want to book a demo or are interested to see how we can help you solve these problems with the TMS that we have. So I'll leave this here for just a couple minutes to, if you're interested in booking a meeting. All right. Right. So to wrap up, if you have any questions over any of the topics that we have, any questions at all about, different problems that you're running across in the holiday rush, this is a great time to ask those questions. So if you do have a question, you're welcome to ask that in our chat. There's a wonderful little chat bubble with a question mark where you could type out your question. There's also an option to raise your hand if you'd like to. I could activate your microphone and you can ask me your question directly. So we'll leave a couple minutes open here for questions. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap things up today. Once again, I appreciate your time with us this afternoon. I wish you guys the best of luck during your holiday rush season, and I hope you all have a great holiday coming up. A great holidays. All right. Thank you.